A mean stranger on a flight had everyone on edge, from her fellow passengers to the flight attendants. She kept ruffling feathers, mistreating people, and taking liberties as she wished. However, little did she know that she was going to leave the plane in tears. Miranda here. I have a story to share with you about a stranger who misbehaved on a flight thinking she could get away with it. But me and my fellow passengers put her in her place. See, I've been traveling quite a lot lately, but my most recent flight has to have been the craziest. I generally tend to book rows 6 or 7 when I can because they aren't too expensive. The other thing I like about the rows is that they're close enough to the front to make them convenient. Today, while walking through the congested aisles of the plane, I settled into what I believed was my assigned seat, 7D. On my way out, I was in 7F, and in my mind, I believed 7D was my return seat. Mistakes happen, especially when you're a frequent flyer like me who can't seem to keep track of seat assignments. It was a minor hiccup, or so I thought, until she arrived. As the woman approached to claim my row, she believed she had the aisle seat. Without noticing that I was in the wrong row, I told her, "No, that's my seat," and politely stood up to let her in. However, I eventually realized when the row became congested that I had misread my ticket, but the correction was met with unexpected vehemence. "You are that stupid that you chose the wrong seat," she screamed, her face contorted with irritation. I scrambled to retrieve my bag, attempting to calm the brewing storm. But my sincere apologies fell on deaf ears. "People like you should not be allowed on flights," she ranted. Not wanting to worsen the situation, I said nothing as I scurried to my correct row. Little did I know that her bad behavior was about to get worse. Her temper was a fuse, lit and unstoppable. Within less than 10 minutes of peace, after we ascended, her barrage began. She yelled at a flight attendant, "This meal is atrocious. How dare you serve this?" Over food, she chose herself before hurling the plastic tray like a frisbee. It wasn't just the object she threw. Words, sharp and cutting, followed each action. Each utterance and behavior was more shocking than the last. No one was safe as she attacked, dissed, and threw tantrums at flight attendants and other passengers alike. A nearby passenger tried to intervene. "Hey, calm down, lady. There's no need to treat people like that," only to receive a splash of water and a tirade. "You think you can ignore me? I'll show you what happens," she shrieked, punctuating her rage with kicks to his seat. Literally everyone on the flight hated this woman's guts. The cabin was aghast, whispers swirling like a storm. Can you believe her? Somebody should do something. The tension was palpable. A collective breath held in anticipation of her next outburst. As the flight drew on, the guy in front of me, the one who got soaked, passed me a note. He'd quietly hatched a plan and was trying to get the other passengers on board. My face lit up with a smirk as I read the note that said, "Read and pass it on when she gets up to go to the exit. Upon landing, we'll get up and see her off shouting." The rest of the note instructed us to shout, "Passenger 7D, you are unbearable. Learn to behave, not like a Neanderthal." I won't lie, I giggled a bit as I read the note. At that moment, I knew the rude woman wasn't going to get away with her messy ways as I passed the note on. Words and notes between the rest of the passengers passed along in hurried whispers. We were united by circumstance. An impromptu alliance formed at 30,000 feet. The excitement among us was so palpable. I wondered, does this woman notice that something's happening around her? But she remained oblivious, too focused on being mean to see the obvious. Our conspiratorial spirits lifted as the wheels touched down. The woman quickly stood, presumably to make a swift exit without being deterred by the rest of us. But just before leaving, someone got up in front of her, obstructing her way. This stopped us from our plan, as she was now amid another hysteria. Suddenly, an unexpected hero turned up to save us all. The main pilot had made his way towards her, and unknown to her, he was standing right behind her. Speaking loudly to get her immediate attention, he says, "I apologize for all the inconvenience you've suffered on this flight." Thinking she was going to get away with all the abuse she'd exposed us to, some of us wanted to speak up. But the pilot held his hand up. A smile flashed across the woman's face for a moment. "For the inconvenience, you will be given a discount on your next flight with our airlines." At this moment, the hysterical woman speaks, saying, "Yes, and I also want to be transferred to business class and get my money back for this flight." But the next moment she turns pale when he says, "Woman, did you think I was addressing you?" Knew I was talking to other passengers. Facing her directly, he added, "But something else awaits you." He continued, "Upon arrival, airport security is already waiting for you. Someone told them that you managed to bring dangerous objects onto the plane." The shock on her face mimicked the expressions we all had. "And if you don't apologize right now, I will make sure that you are blacklisted as a passenger and you will no longer be able to fly." He insisted, to our delight. Looking back at the people she was sitting with on the plane, including the flight attendants, it was obvious she was torn. Her face, once twisted in anger, crumpled under the weight of the reprimand. At that moment, it became clear that she was human like the rest of us and could feel pain as well. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she said softly, "I am sorry for how I behaved during the flight, and I promise to do better in future." Looking up at the pilot, he flicked his head in the direction of the exit, as to say, "Apology sufficient, you may leave." The woman rushed towards the exit. Each step hastened until she was running out. As silence fell, and we collected ourselves, there was a surreal moment of reflection. The ordeal had transformed us, passengers bound by an unwelcome drama, into a united group determined to get revenge. We exchanged looks of disbelief and relief. The shared adversity had morphed into an unlikely bond. The collective was finally free from our tormentor. Seeing the glee on the faces of the flight attendants and the other passengers the woman had harassed, we couldn't help but give a collective shout. People clapped their hands at our victory, and it felt like justice was served that day. As we got off the plane, each person either shook the pilot's hand or gave him a warm hug. Waiting for my baggage, I realized that the flight exemplified the highs and lows of human nature. It was a reminder of the thin line between order and chaos. In the crowded confines of a plane, we navigated more than just the skies by traversing the complex landscape of societal norms. I felt proud to be a human being that day, and what started as a bad flight ended off on a high note, pun intended. Let's dive into the drama that unfolded one unusually warm spring afternoon. So Sabrina was just chilling on her daily subway commute, navigating the sweet spot of crowdedness, enough people to feel the city vibe, but still some breathing room. Now, picture this. At the back of the subway car, there's this kid, around 11 or 12, totally zoned out into his phone. He's sitting in one of those priority seats meant for the elderly or those with disabilities. In her stage right, a woman bursts through the subway doors, towing a little kid in tow, and spots the boy in the seat. Her glare could have melted steel, but the boy, oblivious, still glued to his screen. Cue the confrontation. The woman strides up, launching into a tirade about the boy taking up a reserved seat when he seems perfectly fit. The subway audience is all ears, almost siding with her until plot twist, the boy's mom steps in. Calm yet fierce, she hints at an impending regret for the accuser. The boy then reveals his prosthetic limb, silencing the car in one swift motion. The angry woman, now embarrassed, beats a hasty retreat at the next stop. This unexpected subway saga leaves everyone, including Sabrina, musing on how quick we are to judge without knowing the full story. It's a reminder that behind every scene in the bustling backdrop of city life, there's often more than meets the eye. How's that for a slice of daily drama?